Hello everybody and welcome to the A1A Talkaway podcast, episode 2. Our pilot episode did really well last week. Thank you so much for all the support. And today we have got a special guest as well. But before we get into that, we are going to be talking about what is on the discussion card today. So the first thing that we're going to be talking about is the new emerging Warzone meta.
The music industry and the bug.
Expressing creativity growing up.
Importance of investments.
Yes, important to know that's within the creative industry as well. I'm not helping out with that note. We're also going to have news, announcements, and rumours. And that's going to include the new 3v3 mode that's coming to Apex Legends.
And everyone's new favourite,
Yee Kna. So, yeah, this is Yee Kna. We're not going to explain what that is again. So you have to wait until the end now if you want to find out what that is. But never mind, we have got a special guest today. We have got Ben Dryden. So how are you doing, mate? Also known as AKA Sandbag, AKA Button. Changed your name a few times, but we went with Sandbag on this particular one.
It was better as Sandbag, wasn't it? After I just basically died every time we played a game, wasn't it?
Yeah, so tell me, how are you, man?
Yeah, not too bad. How are you two? Are you both alright?
Yeah, man, I'm fine. We're up very, very, very early this morning to film this for you all. It's not Hexy in a hurry this time. It's kind of me and Sandbag here. So yeah, obviously you're a musician, mate, and obviously the world went through a quite the phenomenon, really. And how's the music industry been regarding you and that? Because obviously you were gigging and stuff like that at the time. So.
Not great, really. So obviously, I can probably speak on behalf of a lot of musicians everywhere, even like the popular musicians in the world. Like, it kind of just got to a halt, didn't it? So like, even people say, like, if you take like Taylor Swift and popular artists like her, they even were kind of at a standstill themselves because they had music probably ready to release, but what's the point of releasing music if you can't tour with it? Because that's where the money's made for even artists like them. They don't make a lot of money from their own sales of their music. They make it from touring. And just for me, really, obviously I do a lot of gigging and up and down the country, and that all just came to a stop. I had some great stuff lined up last year, and that just stopped. And obviously then it was like, where's the next income coming from? Because I've only been self-employed. I hadn't even been self-employed a year at the time, and the government.
Oh, so
and we'll get onto that.
You couldn't claim.
Yeah.
Oh,
so I couldn't claim, so I was stuck. Do you know what I mean? And the government wouldn't give me anything, and I was just thinking, what was that like for people that in my situation? It was awful.
Yeah.
Because the government weren't willing to support, musicians like myself unless you'd had at least one tax return. But yeah, it's nice to see now, after a year and just over a year, that things are starting to kind of come back out, and I've got quite a few gigs lined up for the rest of the year, come May, June onwards, which is nice. But it's not been the best. We're in a time where festivals have always been a big thing over the last 5 years, I think, haven't they?
Yeah.
And where are you going to be located during your gigs? So going forward in your future gigs, where are you kind of travelling to? Can people come? Are people
mainly the south? So mainly like festivals down south. So you've got like these. So we've got like Derby and Essex sausage and cider festivals, which are like tribute festivals. Because that's what I do. I'm in a tribute band for Mumford & Sons called Chasing Mumford.
Actually, if you don't mind, could you tell us a little bit more about that, please? Just regarding obviously what it is and how you got into it, and obviously all the awesome people involved and all that jazz.
What's your most requested track?
Well, it's Mumford & Sons. It's going to be I Will Wait, isn't it? It's going to be the one that, the only one that people know. But
Little Lion Man, just do Little Lion Man.
That's
really
it. That goes down really well. Very good song. Yeah, that and The Cave, and then I think the rest of them just kind of fill in the gaps, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of got into that because I'd just come out of university, which I also did a music degree. And I had a friend that played in the band for a few years, and he basically offered me an audition for the keyboard player part, and I did the audition, and I got the job, thankfully, and I've been doing it ever since. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that. I can't wait to get back out and do it.
Right, you've kind of tackled that a little bit humbly. So Ben just said, "Oh yeah, just rocked up, played a few things on piano, and it was that sorted." But you're actually trained to a really high standard on piano, are you not?
Yeah, I've been playing for probably 15 years plus. Can't remember when I started, to be honest. But yeah, it's just what I do. It's my profession. Yeah, I've been doing it for a good long Grade 8 standards. I also teach quite a lot as well. Can classical, jazz, cocktail jazz, blues. Yeah, pretty much everything. You're always learning. Doesn't matter what profession you do. I feel like there's always stuff to learn. And that's probably the best thing about music is there's no reason to stop. There's always stuff you can do.
Yeah,
which is wonderful. Really.
So just regarding obviously people teaching, we'll get around to the importance of investment like later on in the podcast. But like, how is teaching affected through all this? So obviously, a lot of it I'd imagine before the bug was doing like obviously sitting next to someone, going through things a bit more thoroughly. But how have you remedied that? Have you still done it? Have you completely knocked it on the head, or like what have you been doing with that?
Well, to be honest, I wasn't actually teaching when the pandemic first started. So I actually had a furlough from another job, but then that job completely knackered, so I was left penniless, basically. I didn't have any income at all. So I used to teach a good 3 or 4 years ago, and I thought, well, if it's any time to get back into it, it's now, because I've got to earn money somehow. So I started teaching again, obviously face-to-face for a good while, and then when he brought in this 3-month lockdown, I had to stop, and my wage was cut in half. Because I had to start doing Zoom lessons, which is fine. Zoom lessons worked out good, but only half the people wanted them. So again, it's not been easy at all for musicians, or teachers for that matter. It's not been easy at all.
Yeah, you need students in front of you, don't you, really? And you can't have that in a certain situation.
No. Well, I mean, to be honest, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, because I was able to put a camera above my keyboard so my students could see the piano as well. So if they needed to see something, I could show them. They could just watch me do it.
Because you asked for advice regarding that, didn't you? And
I did.
It took us a minute. I was like, give us a second. But
during the lockdown, you kind of created a bit of a social gathering through Facebook, using that technique that you used to teach.
Yeah. It's great for it's just an overhead camera over my piano, but it's great. It's a great view for actually playing the piano, because you get a good sight of just the hands and what they actually end up doing. Whereas if you're watching something from the side, you don't get that proper view. And yeah, I love it. I'll be posting more and more stuff throughout the year using that camera angle, and hopefully that takes off a little bit more. I've got a lot of stuff lined up.
And just so everyone knows, the link to that will be in the description below as well, so you can check that out. You can also check out Hexy's Facebook streaming there as well, which I'm a regular guest on. So yeah, we'll have that in the description for you as well, Ben. So
and that's every game live, by the way. So I don't play without you guys saying.
Yeah. So moving on, because we've actually filled in about 7 minutes there talking about you, Ben. I think that's the most you've ever talked about yourself in one go, unless you've had a few bevies. But
you know me, I can talk for a good long while.
So basically, we'll kind of move on with the topics. So mainly one for me and on at the minute, the next Warzone meta, mate. Where's that gone? Where do you think that's going?
It's gone, it's gone, it's went exactly where I've been telling people it's going for months.
Which is?
It's the Farah.
The Farah. Now, he's not talking shite on this one, because he did say back when the FFAR was, like, meta, like, this is going to be a thing. And I was like, I agreed with him. I was like, yeah, I'm sure it will be someday, because it had the right qualities. But it's not an FFAR, and that's its biggest problem. Like, every gun's problem at the time was the fact it wasn't an FFAR. So, now that it's gone, I am starting to see a lot more of that. But I don't know about you, but I think that obviously I made a video about this during the week, but the meta is definitely starting to lean towards not just one specific gun, but Cold War ARs specifically. And how do you kind of feel about that?
I'm in total agreement with it. So you'll see a lot of the Craig 6 backing it up. You're going to see one Modern Warfare in specific. It's going to be the Grau. The Grau is peaking back up there. It's kind of not on its hacker level as such, but it's definitely within the Cold War weapons. So I would definitely say the Craig 6. You didn't really agree with it very well.
The Craig, no.
Right.
The Farah, yes, but the Craig, no. I wasn't. I don't see the appeal. Like, I picked one of yours up, and I just felt like I was hit markering for days.
We swapped in a situational moment. Because I had too long range, you had too short range, and we balanced each other out.
Indeed.
Saying if the Grau's getting a mod, Craig's not going to be the happiest soldier on the map, is he?
Yeah,
It's not as dirty as it was, but I understand where you're coming from. Craig had a personal vendetta against this weapon.
I know.
He did against the Car 98K, didn't he, for a good while?
Yeah, I pulled him in.
You did. You got him. You got him, Alan. You got him.
And then there was a video,
Yes.
and he was like, "This is how you use the Car 98K." Like, yeah, that is how you use it. Finally, you see it.
It's a quick fire gun. It's a quick fire.
Heads.
Yeah.
Heads.
It's heads and shoulders now. Not quite knees and toes yet, but
No knees.
it's getting in that particular direction. But I'm actually glad to see that it's a. Back when it first started, it was like AR sniper. Like it wasn't like any particular sniper or any particular AR, but that was just kind of how the game was played. And I feel as if we're going down that path again. So it's good that it's not just one specific gun, because because when the meta, and these guys will know exactly what's coming, when the meta is quite broad like it is now, you'll start seeing the EBR videos and the SOCOM videos again, and you know, it's a good laugh when I whip out that EBR and SKS and stuff. SKS more specifically lately, I dropped into Plunder and I was slaying with it with Alan to try out the new map last week. But what about you, Sandbag? Have you played much COD lately, and talk to us about it?
Not done as much as I'd like. I mean, I didn't actually get Cold War because I just heard such horrendous reviews about Cold War, so I kind of stayed away from it. But I've just been busy doing a lot of work. Obviously, being out for a year, I've kind of been focusing on that quite a lot, so not had the time to play. But I do miss it. I do miss my Obsidian M13.
Yes, he's Obsidian M13. I'm still on the road to Obsidian for the EBR. One day I will make that meta.
It makes it even worse.
Obsidian.
Pardon?
I have zero Obsidian.
Me as well at the minute, mate. It's because we're diehard Warzone players. That's what it is. Mate. That's what it is.
I'm sat there with platinum coloured assault rifles and marksman rifles, sniper rifles.
I can agree with that one. I've got the plats, so that's all well and good. But
have you got your sniper rifles platinum yet?
No, I've
oh,
not.
They look great. You need to get that Rytech platinum. It's beautiful.
That's a beast. I've seen you've got one, haven't you? Like that's an absolute unit of a weapon.
Was using it. Like Ben was one of the players, one of the only players in our squad that used it regularly, like as a chosen choice of weapon. And that thing, when it first released, it was like the loudest gun on the game. When that went off, that was kind of like M82 today.
Yeah,
so when you put the tank suppressor on it.
Definitely overruled it.
Yeah, definitely, man. But like another thing I want to talk to you about. Obviously, everyone here has got creative spark, shall we say? Well, everyone has. It's just a matter of if they realize it or not. So the expressing creativity growing up, Ben. Obviously, you mentioned that you were into music from a very early age, 15 years. That puts you early 10s, I believe. So obviously, tell us about getting into it, and obviously the importance of going into creativity and how you'd express that growing up, man.
I mean, I was I can't remember whether I wanted to play the piano or the keyboard, but my parents got me lessons and I just played. And I just carried on playing, but I didn't actually listen to a lot of music when I was younger. I just played piano. I only really got into music as I was getting to my early teens. But I think it is important for kids to be pushed to do certain things like that, because even if they may not like it, at least they give it a go. They might find something that they love and something that they're amazing at. I think there's something you mentioned last week on the pilot episode about when you were having a conversation about maybe kids not being able to afford certain things. And I just remember thinking about that. I just kind of want to build on that with like the whole, teaching lessons and stuff. Lessons are quite expensive these days. You're looking at maybe between £100-200 a month for lessons, which is a lot of money for anything really. And I think that was one of the biggest problems, is not everyone's got access to be able to do stuff like that. You might have had a skill that you've never ever been able to explore because you never had access.
Yeah. Yeah, like I kind of see what you mean, because like with like camera stuff, obviously we talked about the camera background in the last episode, but for me, I never had the gear that I needed to actually go and do it. Like I always had the desire to, but because I was limited by what I had at the time, it kind of, for me, it made us want to do it more. Like I was sat on that desire longer. If I think if I had the stuff from the age I wanted it, I may have actually got bored of it, or I would be, I don't know, or might be the other way. It might be like a 20 million subscriber channel by now. You don't. It's everything happens for a reason, I believe, in some regards. So yeah, I think for me, growing up, obviously we met at college.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
And college for me was a tricky time. It was a tricky time, not because of like anything like mentally or anything like that, but see, if you remember in the last podcast, I basically said this is when I grew thick skin, and like obviously a year after that was college, and I kind of in self-defense found myself being a bit of a dick to people. Not because I he knows.
So you still are, never mind back then.
But like, no, like at the time it was like a obviously I'd been that used to being bullied through the early years of school, and I had the mentality of going into college as if to say that ain't ever happening ever again. So obviously I put on like a super stern persona, not necessarily me. And I remember, do you remember the whole media saga at the end of the first year there, Ben, which I was telling you about?
I do, yes, I do.
So basically that was kind of when I realized I was going the wrong way, and that, you know, it was when I realized that I'm being a bit too much of a dick to people here, and it's not me. Some of the relationships I have improved since then. Some I unfortunately have not been able to. But I found myself in a position where I was basically saying, like, you're not good enough to work with me on this project. You don't bring enough to the table to work on this. And I kind of felt as if that was a bit of a, obviously it was a dick move anyway. But like I kind of went in there with like the professional mentality. Like if someone's crap, you wouldn't hire them. But when you're at university, the whole point is to learn. And that's not just for me, but for everyone. And I kind of like felt as if I'd played a part in you know, detrimenting, putting people off in that industry, and that's something that even to this day I've never really forgiven myself for, which is a bit rough. But this is why like I help stuff with like computers, for example. I build people's computers. Like I don't want to people feel excluded from something like ever again. And obviously you mentioned there with this is where it's kind of looping back into, you mentioned there where obviously it's expensive to get into music lessons and stuff like that. A lot of people, it's expensive to get into PCs as well. And
it's anything art related.
Yeah,
anything art related is
or fun.
Yeah. I will disagree with you, Craig, from what you said there. I'm still a massive believer that if you're crap at your job, I'm not going to hire you. I work in an industry, as well you kind of do, where I'm not going to work with somebody who isn't worthy for the job. I've got a career to think about, and I need to hire the best or work with the best people possible. I'm not willing to put up with somebody.
Yeah, this is where you find the middle ground, though, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
Like media, I've said, it's not a what you know industry, it's a who you know industry, and I don't know if music's the same. But
no, it is 100%.
But I feel as if you've got to have like a certain level of talent to get recognized. But at the time, like I wanted just to leave college with a mint reputation. Everything I've touched was gold, and obviously, yeah, everything I touched was pretty damn good, but at the same time, I think the bridges that I burnt in the way of doing that, it wasn't sustainable at all. So yeah, if anyone from those times is watching, I do humbly apologize about that. And some people I've reached out to, and obviously we've started talking again. Some people, not so much, but you know, if you're watching, I know. But what about you, Ben? Did you find yourself like going one way or the other during your journey to a creative professional, shall we say?
Not sure I understand the question, if I'm honest, Craig.
Yeah, so basically, did you go through any problems becoming a musician, be it with people, be it with getting your name out there? Like, what challenges did you face personally in getting to where you are now? You can't say the bug.
Yeah, no, 100%. I did. I think we all do. To be honest, I didn't really get as good as I did until I started gigging after university. To be honest, I was a good musician at university, but I'd say I'm 10 times better since I left, because the best teacher's been myself. I'm not going to lie, the best tutor I've ever had is myself, because I've gone to the right places and worked hard. But I think you always need a push to get better. You need to basically make sure that your job, if you want to get better, is in that industry. Otherwise, you're never going to progress. You've got to do the hard stuff if you're going to make it into anything art-wise, haven't you? If you're not looking in that area, then you're going to be stuck in probably a dead-end job you don't like, which is something I chose not to do. I chose not to accept the dead-end jobs I was offered and work on music, because that's what I wanted to do.
So you say, like, you got to do the hard stuff, obviously, just in case there's like a younger audience. What do you mean by, like, the hard stuff?
I think you've got to be patient and wait for certain jobs. Like, you've got to put hours and hours and hours of work in, on whatever craft you have to get better. Like, you're talking maybe 2-3 hours a day sitting down, say even me at a piano, or say even on camera technology. If you're in media, I don't know much about that type of thing, but do you know what I mean? Like, you've got to
research.
Yeah,
like
and
a
sometimes
repetitive process where you're just repeating the same process, correcting the same errors, and
100%.
So, did you ever have hurdles with individuals? So, did anyone ever try and steer you away from your dreams, and you've overcome that, or if you did overcome it?
When I was at university, I realised there was a lot of musicians. I'm not even worried about offending people. I think a lot of people on university music courses will agree with me here. There was a lot of musicians that shouldn't have been there. A lot of people that just weren't cut out to be a musician that were let on the courses. And if you were put into groups and bands with them, it held you back. And that's that's when I kind of realised that you've got to be strict. I've had the fortunately, when I've been playing, say, with Chasing Mumford, I've been fortunate to play with some amazing musicians, some absolutely incredible musicians, and people that are very good at their jobs. That I've been playing for years, and that I'll make sure everything's perfect. And yeah, I've been lucky with that. But universities, I think Craig will even back me up here, especially with media. You're going to get people that shouldn't be doing that craft.
No, yeah, some people are just there for the qualification. You know what I mean?
And they let you down. They let you down, which is the problem. And that's why I kind of got a bit strict before, because it's made me realise that throughout the time I'm a musician, I'm never going to be willing to work with somebody who I don't deem worthy of working with myself.
Yeah,
I'm not going to pull someone along.
It's not even an arrogance thing. Like, you kind of know, like, the levels of that with which you hold yourself up to. If someone's slightly below that level, that's fine. You can bring them up. But it's kind of like, I feel as if they're too far down there, if they're not coming in on like a trainee basis, which I'm happy to do for anyone. If they've got like a major role and it compromises the integrity of the work, then you're gonna find that I don't put my name on that work, or I'm just not, I don't get them involved to begin with. But I think where me and Ben are now, I think we've kind of like found the middle ground, like not being too tough, not being ruthless like I was in uni, which, to be fair, I was a bit of a dick in doing so. There's not because I did it, but it was the manners of how I did it. I didn't have that respect, and whereas, like, obviously I feel as if I do now, and that's where it's like, I think we see that a lot of stuff, like picking like a stream team, for example, now as well. It's like I'm going with like these people. This is why you will get your opportunity, but for now, like, this is like what's happening on our side. But yeah, I don't know if you feel as if we're in the middle now, or if you feel as if you've
100% in the middle. I mean, it's never cockiness. I think you need to realize as you're doing a profession as you get older, if you're good at what you do, it's not cockiness, but it's like with any job, you can't have people pulling you down or pulling you back, and you've got to it's not. You've got to know your worth at the end of the day. I'm a big believer in that. You've got to know your worth no matter what you do in this world. You need to know your worth.
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
understand that you're good, so you know what you're going out to seek and to progress to go further. If you
100%.
don't know how good you are, how do you know how good you want to be?
100%. I mean, there's people that could be better than me. Yeah, there's people that'll be much better than me at obviously playing piano across the world. That'll get jobs that I couldn't get, but they'll know their worth as well. They'll go for and they'll work with certain people. It's be the same for everybody. Like,
yeah. It's like I reiterate. It's not like to go out to be a dick, but you do have to know your worth, because at the end of the day, it's your reputation, and like in the creative industry, that is who you are. You are your reputation, and obviously your line of like quality and your line of work as well. And it's just kind of, yeah. I just feel as if there's a time and a place. Like, if people want to be involved, like in terms of, I don't even know how I want to say this. Like, if people want to be involved and they're not that good, then is it when does a training opportunity become more
just a cost?
Yeah, like a liability kind of thing. But I think it is important at the same time that we do get the next like generation, like, you know, through the doors and all that stuff. But I think you're both absolutely right in that regard. But obviously, what about yourself, Alan? Because you find yourself quite a creative person. It's you know, what? How do you feel? I
mean, I can be creative. I have ideas, but generally completing them is generally me struggle. To be fair, so I'm generally more of an idea guy. I think things through. I process things. I weigh pros and cons. But actually, in the way of physically creating something, like a picture, I'm not artistic. I'm not musical. Like, I did come into contact with music as a child. Father can play guitar. But I was just always into gaming.
Yeah, but you were a competitive gamer as well, though.
So
it's still a skill. It is a skill.
It's a skill, and there is some creativity on there because there's very in-moment decisions that you need to take, and they can only kind of go one or two ways. Sometimes it's a 50-50, and sometimes you need to make a decision, and it needs to be in a creative way, because when you play games, it's not just physically like having this and having systems and stuff. It's also a mental game as well. So you've got to read your opponent within milliseconds of contact, and you do that. I wouldn't recommend doing it off the skins in Call of Duty because they've got this whole default skin.
You do know straight away, though, don't you? Like, you can have a pop into the fire back. Right, he's got no
test shots.
Like, yeah, you know, you fire test shots, they run like a bitch. Right, you're getting pushed. It's true, like it doesn't get brought up enough, and I think I've said this a couple of times on stream with the pair review. Like, right, he's scared. Right, we're pushing, and it's being able to identify when they're scared, or if someone's been a bit too ballsy. It's like, right, okay, I'm going to turn this in uses again. It's like, people just think that gaming is all about like this, but it's not. It's all up here. And there was an analogy that I like this for pool as well, Ben. You'll like this, like the game of pool snooker. The pool is 80% up here. Only 20% is actually ability. Like, hitting balls into pockets isn't that difficult once you know the angles. It's knowing what to do when and under pressure. And gaming's the exact same. It's the exact same. It's how do you position yourself? Can you instill fear? Can you read the opponent quite well? So obviously, yeah, and it's kind of the same with it within the creative industries as well. Like, you've got to read the competition and how they're feeling, but also how they're feeling about you and knowing where you stand as well. I think that's a massively important aspect of that. But
yeah, I agree with you. Pool is chess with balls. It
is very similar.
Get that quoted, boys.
If you can't execute, you're going for a snooker. So you're going to protect pockets, and you're going to protect your colours, and you're going to hide his colours or her colours as best as possible. So it is very much mind. It's a battle of the minds, and a lot of games are, and it's not just things like Call of Duty or it's like even simple games where you're playing solo, things like Tetris and things. It's all very much the mind, and that's kind of from a creative standpoint. That's the only kind of place I kind of fit in, and without that,
Well, I think you've hit the nail on the head there, mate. Because like that's kind of like creativity as well. Like how you do in media, music. It doesn't really. Well, obviously, it depends on a lot of it on your skill, but a lot of it's also up here as well. Do you have the mentality to work on your flaws? Do you have the mentality to see your flaws and then say, right, I'm not going to be too proud as to pretend it doesn't exist. I'm actually going to go and work on this and get better at this now. And, you know, do you have, when things are rough, like, for example, when the bug hit the music industry, you can sit there and say, right, okay, it's not meant to be, it's too hard, I'll just get a call center job, full-time job. Or do you turn that around and say, no, actually, this isn't going to be the beating of me. I'm going to get myself back up and show this bloody industry and the world who I am and what I'm about. And credit to the entire music industry and just creative sector in general who with their backs against the wall, have come up and said, no, reskill, retrain, whatever the government was saying. No,
possibly one of the worst things I've ever seen. That
sod that. We're going to come up and show this entire world what this industry is about. Like, not just what it does, but what it's about. The feeling, the camaraderie, the passion that these people have. Like, I've worked with music people, the passion that they have for their projects, it's incredible. Their producers and directors, maybe it's not so much, a bit money greedy, but the actual performers themselves, mint. You know what I mean? It's that passion which makes me enjoy being in the media sector.
But that's what I mean. Like, when I went into the teaching thing, I obviously didn't have a job, obviously, as I've said earlier on, but like, I didn't know how that was going to turn out. I took a shot into the teaching. I didn't know if I was going to be a good teacher or if I would enjoy it, and thankfully I did, and thankfully I've got a big clientele now, and it's worked out. But sometimes you've got to take a chance. Do you know what I mean? You don't get anywhere by not taking risks, in my opinion. You've got to be able to I mean, obviously you can live comfortably, but I don't believe you don't get anywhere big without taking risks.
Yeah,
sometimes you've got to take those risks.
I remember how that we had this conversation, Ben, where I basically said I'd rather be on my deathbed and say I tried and failed than
100%.
I didn't try at all. And I think that's kind of like the spirit, you know, give it a punt. But obviously having the mentality and having the brains to do it is one thing, but what about, like, sometimes you need more than that. Sometimes you need a bit financial backing, because to get into the creative industry, it's not cheap. Even if you're doing music, even if you're doing YouTube. Like YouTube, I was telling Alan, that costs me £100 a month, more or less, and he was shocked to find that out.
Because I do Facebook and it costs me nothing.
Yeah,
I pay me internet.
Yeah,
I don't create stuff, and Craig does. That's kind of where we differ. Mine's very much live performance. Craig's is like half live, and then he shows his artistic, his media side, and things that make him the creative person he is, in the best way he can produce himself over the internet.
But you still paid for the point of entry, though, to get yourself in a position to be able to do that in the first place.
Equipment-wise, yeah.
You know what I mean?
These are basically, I can sum this up for you straight away. It's you got to spend money to make money.
Yeah.
That's the be all and end of all. You've got to, in what we do, in same way as what you do, or with all this online stuff, you've got to spend money to make money. Otherwise, you're not gonna get anywhere, and you've got to hope that it pays itself back.
Exactly.
I know I'm going back.
Say a lot. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to
sorry,
interrupt you.
So I was going to say, I know I'm going back to the teaching thing again, but it's like, for example, because I've did what I did, it's enabled me to push on and do other stuff I want to do. So I don't want to stop with just teaching. Obviously you want to do weddings and stuff like that, but you've got to spend money to do the videos, to get professional things, and it's not cheap. But then you've got to hope you get the work to pay it back. You've got to pay money for equipment. Obviously, hope you get the money to get it back.
Because it's not a spend; it's an investment. Obviously,
exactly.
The word being invest to get that money and more back.
It's to make money, isn't it? Because it, like, kind of dropping back to what we were doing before. It's a very, like, media, content, entertainment. It's a very no risk, no reward. So you're either going in. You can't half-foot it. If you're wanting to do something and become something of yourself, you need to fully commit yourself. If you half commit yourself, you're only going to get half a result.
Yeah,
and that's kind of. I think that's a lot of stuff.
I completely agree.
Where Ben and Craig, myself, kind of come from. We've all come from these backgrounds where not everything was just given to us. We've had to work and do things, and we've had to risk things and put things aside, to move forward. And it is a very no risk. If you do no risk, there isn't a reward for you. You have to make yourself vulnerable.
But I think all three of us on this panel can agree that it's not just a financial investment. It's also like kind of like a mental, spiritual one as well.
It's a time investment.
Like an energy investment as well. Time, energy. Like, you're going to be putting in hours and hours and hours and hours of graft, and you're not going to see the results of that straight away. Like, you're not going to see the results of that sometimes for years, like, down the line, of you having to constantly graft like and perfect your trade for years before you even get any recognition. And just regarding obviously investment, with investment comes income, but I think one that I want to talk to you a little bit about briefly, Ben, is setting the price for that income, because a lot of people out there, media, he knows where I'm going with this, media, music industry, they're all as bad as each other for this. A lot of people will be like, right, you can work for it, it'll be good exposure, it'll be good experience, and like, I don't need exposure, I need money, I have bills just like you, and you do have to set like a price that's right, and it's weird because like it's not like an item where I can just basically say, right, this phone's worth 800 quid, there you go, over the counter. It's a lot of it's about the likes of how much am I worth in the industry, where does my skill level compare to everybody else's in the area, and how much are they charging. And you do have to find that delicate balance of finding out how much you're worth. You will of course start out far too cheap than what you're worth, but sometimes, like I say, sacrifices, you have to do that, and again, that is an investment in yourself until you find where your price is at, and that is a journey in itself, regardless of your skills, your finances, the energy you put in. Finding that out as well is a bit of a journey, and obviously I'd like your thoughts on that as well, Ben, if you don't mind.
Yeah, 100%. I'll go back to what I was saying earlier on about, like obviously certain kids I'll never be able to afford piano lessons, because obviously it's a competitive market as well, just like anything else. Like, you've got to make money, and to be honest, this is actually something I've kind of thought about, like, and it's also for myself as well, about business. Is there a way for people that don't have as much money to actually get the piano lessons and get them that they deserve, to get what they need if that's what they want? And I mentioned earlier on, it costs you probably about £200, £100 to £200 a month for piano lessons, depending on how many you're having and stuff. And basically towards the end of the year, I'm going to be bringing online portfolio teaching out, which will basically, you can either pay £20 a month set for 12 months, or you can pay £200 for the year. But it'll be a whole website of learning. If you're interested in music, you'll be learning everything about piano that you need to know. You'll learn different styles, you'll learn how to read sheet music if you need to do grades. I'll have lessons on how to do your grades, and this is what I'll be bringing out. And then if people want to learn more, if they sign up to it and obviously pay it, and they want me to do something or do a lesson on something, I can do that for them. But that'll be open for people that can't afford, all that money a year. They'll only have to pay. It won't be as rewarding as face-to-face teaching at all, but it's still 10 times cheaper, and you're still going to learn.
It's a start.
But again, you're going back to investing. I'm going to have to invest a lot in to do that, and hope that it works out. But at the same time, it'll hopefully give people an opportunity that don't have as much money, families that don't have as much money, the opportunity for their kids to learn.
Yeah,
you can change a lot of people with that sort of, like, as you say, yes, it's not as rewarding as what face-to-face one-to-one would be, but with that one-to-one, there's obviously a large cost, because that person teaching you has to have a living. Obviously, you can reach a large market with online teaching, and there's nothing wrong with online teaching. Many professional musicians have become professional over watching YouTube videos. They've self-taught themselves, and a lot of it goes back to, what are you willing to put in? What are you willing to do?
Well, how much do you used to? If you don't, I'll ask you a question now for the first time in this, rather than me chatting away. How much have you used to spent? Because I know, Alan, you do. I see you comment on people's Facebook videos constantly on Facebook. How much have you used to spend time on YouTube looking up stuff and looking at other people's gaming stuff, gameplay, reviews of equipment? You used to use YouTube like it's going out of fashion.
I'll let you start, Alan.
So, I mean, I do support a lot of. Well, I don't provide like money and funds. Like, I'll do the odd Facebook stars and stuff. But I do support a lot of streamers. I do give them a lot of views. I do give shares, especially the lower guys. So the guys that have not been in the industry very long, and they're kind of, I can see why they're online, and I can see what they want to provide, and a lot of the times it is good, and I'm willing to do likes and shares. It's a click of a button.
Yeah.
So how much?
You know what I mean?
How much of that time? How much of that time do you actually go about going on Facebook or YouTube to actually invest in yourself in terms of knowledge or ideas? Like, I think
anytime I'm on the toilet, 100%. Anyone who doesn't take their phone to the toilet is not from this generation.
It's when you end up there for a good half an hour and you're like, oh no.
Yeah, so I do tend to spend a lot of time, or if I'm in bed, before kind of shutting eyes and you're just kind of getting a little bit of Facebook time, like I'll look over to the side and the girlfriend are kind of be reading people's posts, and I'm like, nah, I want to see what the gaming world's doing, and I'm kind of looking through, seeing what content's being released, seeing what ideas are people forward, what are people doing. Like obviously people go through and you can see people are trying really hard to kind of win games of Warzone, but not everyone's in Warzone for that reason. A lot of people are in Warzone for multiple of reasons, and not just Warzones, like other games, like things like Counter-Strike offer things like surfs and creative maps, things like role playing and stuff like that. And people will go into these online games, and I mean, I think the investment's worth it, to be fair. Even if you are giving someone 10-15 minutes of your time, even if it's just 5 minutes, I'll put easily 4 or 5 hours a day into social media, I would say, including time between Warzone games, or just games loading, or waiting for people to join. Sitting in
there's
Discord,
loads of that in the A1A.
You know, I'm on social media all the time.
I just want to quickly build on something you said there, Alan. I think because you brought up a good point. I think where you share people's stuff and like you like people's stuff, and the problem is for me, there's not enough people like you who will just like somebody's stuff just to be, you know what I mean? Just because you're supporting each other. You're in a world where we should all support each other, but we don't live in that kind of world. We live in a world where everyone's competitive and everyone wants to bring each other down. Do you know what I mean? Like even like
still be competitive.
You can, but at the same time, it doesn't hurt to chuck someone a like or share somebody's work. Or whereas in the music industry, it's exactly the same. Like I'll listen to musicians slag off other musicians, and I'm like, why?
Like,
why can't you just sit there and?
I'll admit, I was like that during the college days. Like that was obviously one of many problems within me and myself in the college days. But then I've kind of learned to understand that it's a community, and you know, this is your community, whether you're competition or not. It's your community, and I feel an obligation, and obviously Hexy does too, and yourself. I feel an obligation to do anything I can to look after my community. If that's helping people set their the correct day rate, if that's me helping them sort out a computer for free, like as in like I build it for them for free, I give back to the community. And there was a situation regarding a potential client. I can't really go too much into it, but like there was a point where like it needed to be cheap as possible, but it was like I do need to charge something now, because then I'm price gouging other people in the market, and for the price that they would be wanting, they could find a student who needs the experience and is happy to work for that price offered. You know what I mean? So it's like it's kind of one of them where I feel now that I'm older, I feel obliged to look after the communities that I'm engaged with. So obviously the media community, obviously the YouTube community, obviously the A1A community. I feel obliged to look after them. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I just don't know why we live in a world where people are so quick to put each other down. Like I'll see musicians see other musicians that are like better than them, and they'll like come up for a reason why they're better. Do you know what I mean? Like, and slag them off. Whereas for me, what I'll do is I'll walk up to them and go, "What were you doing there?" And I'll learn. Do you know what I mean? Learn if somebody's better than you, because chances are you're always going to be better than them at something.
Well,
with anything that you do, you're going to be better at something that they are, and they're going to be better at something that you are. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Like people want that, you know what I mean? People want the who's better than who. And a common comparison that me and Alan get is whose computer's better. And we're like, there's no argument. It's like, well, it's because
who's the better Call of Duty player?
It doesn't work that way.
I've answered this question before.
It doesn't work this way, because in terms of the PCs, because his is a better gaming machine, whereas mine's a better streaming machine. So it depends, and it's the same with people. Some people are better at having this aspect of their industry down. Some people will be better than you at other aspects of that industry. It just kind of works the same way. But to answer your question before regarding the how much time do I spend on YouTube myself, actually very little. Every video I'm on, I'll like, of course, share, comment, all the stuff I tell people to do on my videos, of course, but I very rarely get the opportunity to go on because I very rarely get the time, if I'm being honest. Because YouTube, like, to make videos, each video will take about 4 or 5 hours of editing alone. That's not including the time to get the actual YouTube footage, not the time that I would spend planning. So it's just kind of, it's just kind of how it is. Obviously, if I would be able to do this full time, then I would spend more time in the community, which would be absolutely fantastic. I'd love to do that, of course. But initially, like, I don't have that much time, and whenever I do go on YouTube, it's usually for like a specific reason. Like, I want to learn how to do multicam, for example, then I'll watch a video and learn how to do multicam. I need to learn, I've got an audio problem, I don't know how to fix it. Right, is there a Google a forum on Google which has the exact same issue? Like, it's kind of my troubleshooting tool more than my learning tool more than else, but that's kind of down to people's attitudes, isn't it? Like, if you spend your time learning about your craft, even if you're not actively practicing it, that counts as investment towards the goal, in my opinion. So
time taken from elsewhere to produce into something else is investment. It's like, you may think if you love doing something and you spend you may not even think, but you spend like maybe it's like 4 or 5 hours a week on YouTube, Facebook, or whatever, just investing, looking in, finding out information about that craft. That's still investment. If you choose to do that and carry it on, it's a great investment.
It's time investment, which is the most important investment, in my opinion.
Agreed. Time investment, like learning a craft, practicing a craft, researching your craft, even like the people in your area, your community, that's all part of being in the craft. But in terms of like investment and stuff like that, Ben, obviously we are a tech-based channel as well, so I do have to ask you about your tech. So what kind of music equipment have you got, and tell us a bit about it all, because you made some investments yourself, Bonnie lad.
Well, this is the thing, this is why the bug messed me up, because in my first year I spent a lot of money to do what I needed to do, thinking I'm not going to make anything this year, and the following year I'm going to make it, and then the bug came along and no, it didn't happen. But I've got, obviously I'm a keyboard player, obviously I've got pianos and keyboards all over the house, but my main piece of equipment is a Nord Stage 3 compact.
So what's that for the audience?
It's probably one of the best keyboards you can get on the market. It's got an organ section, it's got a piano section, and it's got a synth section. But I needed to do what I do because...
What's it called?
It's called a Nord Stage 3.
Nord Stage 3.
Gorgeous keyboard. Absolutely gorgeous keyboard. But I've got that, and then obviously the thing about the Nord Stage 3 and like other keyboards, it doesn't have speakers built in, so I had to buy a sound system, like a little PA system to run it, speakers. Yeah. But it's tremendous, does the job. You can get all sorts of sounds on it. Got to run it through an interface as well, which allows you to basically, if you're tech savvy in music, if you've got to run the keyboard into an interface into whatever your speaker wise. Otherwise, it allows you to fiddle with the sounds a bit more rather than plug it straight into a system.
So yeah, I'm looking at that now, and that looks like a holy monstrosity of a beast that you've got there. So why?
I don't understand it.
Neither do I. But it's tech.
To be honest, when I first got it, I didn't understand it. It took me a few weeks to basically it's time investment of sitting down and fiddling with everything and figuring it out. And
well, this is the thing. This is like a massive thing. Like, obviously, you don't just, I've got a mint camera, I've got a mint keyboard, that's is why I'm good. A lot of that time investment is doing the research into what's going to be the best investment for you, which obviously you've done with this. So it's like, how do you go about...
You've got to learn to use your equipment. That's what you've got to do.
How do you go about doing stuff? I was just there. So that was, I forgot to tell my mom that I was that obviously I'm taking her up. And I was like, I'm doing the podcast. Go away, I'm doing the podcast. But no, I completely agree. Like, the time that you spend doing, like, researching what you want. Like, this is what I mean by, if you can't practice for whatever reason, do you know what you're going to do? Do you know what you want to invest in and why? And obviously, I think that's half the battle. If you know what the best buy is, are you going to be going for quality? Are you going to be going for value? Let's be real, people who go budget, I know it sounds awful, but people who go for budget don't get anywhere, which is, it's a good entry stage if you're learning, but like, budget after like your point of entry, it doesn't really get you anywhere. You do need to start thinking about value and.
I would say budget's more like it's good to do what it does, but it's not to exceed. So it'd be good to do the very basics of kind of what you're interested in doing. Like, for instance, I'll be totally honest, I don't know much about music or that keyboard. That keyboard is a mathematical equation to me. But like, say someone who goes in and they go like a budget computer, if they're hoping to become a pro gamer overnight, it's not going to happen. There is certain things within kind of called splashing out or investing that's going to give you the edge to move forward quicker, more precise. You're going to get where you want to be a lot quicker by doing investments like Ben has here on this keyboard. He could have went the opposite way. He could have went budget and went with something that you learned with at school with DJ.
Yeah.
Something like that. And at which point, I think if you kind of went down that market, you might be as good. You might still be good. But I think having the equipment and not going budget is what's made you who you are.
It helps you. It helps you with the who you know part as well, because we mentioned before that it's a who you know industry as well. If you've got really high end gear, people will want to know who you are.
Can I just quickly build on that?
Yeah, of course you can.
That is not always true, and this is actually something I wanted to mention earlier on. And if I could give any advice to anybody in the creative industry or anything that you do, mainly probably anything you do, it doesn't pay a lot to be nice. It doesn't pay a lot to say hello to someone, or do you know what I mean? Just be nice in general, because you don't know someday when somebody goes, "Oh, I know this nice guy, and he's really good at what he does. I can get in touch with him if you want." And I'll quickly tell you a quick story based on that. So there's a lad I know, no names. He's a cracking photographer. Honestly, I've seen his stuff. He's a tremendous photographer, but he doesn't even bat an eyelid. I've known him since I was young. Never done anything wrong to him, nothing like that. But he doesn't even look at it. Doesn't even bat an eyelid. And he just blatantly ignores, doesn't talk to us. Do you know what I mean? And it's stuff like that where like it's just like why be mean? Why be like that? Because now if somebody wants a photographer, I'm not going to sit there and suggest him. I'm going to sit and suggest someone else because I don't like this guy. I think he's a dick.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas if he actually, acknowledges that as this and I had a quick chat with him, a catch up or whatever, I'd be like, oh, yeah, if I ever get something, I'll suggest it. It doesn't pay a lot to be nice. And if you ever want work, there's no point being an arsehole for the rest of your life because people aren't going to suggest you. Be nice, that's all it takes. And it might actually end up getting you things that you never thought you would. Yeah. I never would have got my job in the band if the guy who suggested it didn't think I was good enough or even like me, for example.
Yeah.
If he thought I was an arsehole, he wouldn't have suggested it.
Fair enough. I suppose I worded that wrong. It'll help people know who you are because someone will be like, "Oh, it's Ben the kid with the Nord Stage 3." Like, it's part of the reputation. Is kind of how I meant to get that out there.
Oh yeah,
just to clear it up. However, it is time for Nah, which is news, announcements, and rumours. So, Hexy, tell us a little bit about what we got this week. What's happened this week in the world of gaming?
In the world of gaming, I don't know if I want to go straight into the Apex.
Do it.
So, Apex are releasing 3v3, and it's sections of the Kings Canyon maps. And what they're doing is it's kind of like what Call of Duty did, where you could do like 1v1, 2v2s, and they're doing 3v3s, all compact. It's just pure action. It looks brilliant. It's give Apex kind of an angle which it's never had in kind of the competitive market when it comes to multiplayers.
Looks like a good Valorant.
It does, doesn't it? And even the graphics, they haven't had to downgrade the graphics to do anything.
It's all in the same engine.
The update was what, like very small. It was like megabits. It was no gigabits.
Yeah, well, it's not live yet, I don't think. So I think it'll be going live. I think some point next week.
Gigabits.
It's not that big. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, from
I just like that word. I'm going to use that now.
The rumor on the grapevine is that it's not going to be that big of an update either. So it's not going to be 20 gig for an extended mag like it is on Call of Duty. Also,
it's no more new hard drives or SSDs.
Yeah. Also on today's agenda is Battlefield 6 announcement and the fact that they are going to be bringing out a battle royale as well. Buzzing news. We all knew it was going to happen. It was just a question of when. Looks like that's going to be dropping early 2022 as well. And unfortunately, another thing that's going to last until 2022 is going to be the chip crisis. So this affects everything from the computers in cars to the chips that get made for your CPUs, your graphics cards. There's going to be a massive shortage still, and it looks like in an investor call that's going to be going on until at least mid-2022. So, yeah, I think the second-hand market is probably going to be where that's going. So, your thoughts on those two things, boys, if you have any?
By the Battlefield, if you would like us to start, because I've been excited about this since I heard about a month ago. It's had us, like, itching. I want something new. Call of Duty did kind of provide something new, which was very surprising, because I really thought the last update was going to go south. The first part of it with the zombies and the crisis and the new, although the cinematics were good, the gameplay transition was not. But for the Battlefield, it's free.
It starts rough though. If the last few had to go by, like day
but
one is filled with bugs usually. So
we have someone new coming into it.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
So we have no need for speed this year. Because AA are teaming up with DICE to do the new release for free for the new Battlefield. So the graphics are apparently just going to be insane, because we're going to get AA producers in there. It's going to be AA funded. It's going to be DICE. Everyone likes AA.
A new graphical monster of a Battlefield game where it's a graphics card crisis.
Yeah.
Fun.
I was under the impression that everyone despised EA.
No, I wouldn't say they're despised. They're definitely not the favourable.
We like their studios. We like Respawn. We like DICE, Square Enix. We don't like EA themselves. So, kind of like how we feel on that. They have wicked potential, but usually always come short with that.
They don't skimp on visual quality. Is kind of what I'm pointing at. Like if you look at any EA game, whether it be FIFA,
they don't skimp out on efficiency. Well, they do skimp out on efficiency, though. That's the only thing with EA. So, boys, we've got about 10 minutes left, give or take. It's went on, but I think the conversation's been quite good and quite informative, so I don't mind the podcast being a bit longer on this occasion. But now it's time for everyone's favourite, Did Yee Kna? So, being our guest, Mr. Ben Dryden, I am going to let you bring out the first fact of the day.
So, did a bit of research this week to find the funniest thing I could, get my hands on. And my Did You Know fact for this week is Did Yee Kna fact. Sorry, Did Yee Kna.
Where are you from, lad?
I'm from Northumberland. I'm sorry, I'm not as Geordie. I'm not a true Geordie. So Japan is suffering a ninja shortage.
Come again?
That is my fact. Japan is suffering a ninja shortage. Would you believe it?
Ninjas still exist.
Yeah, they still exist. So since 2018, they've been suffering a ninja shortage on the Japanese city of Iga, which is where it was born. So they've been saying that despite the fact, and this is the best part, apparently they're offering salaries of 85,000 of their currency a year. It's equivalent to $85,000 a year. To be a ninja, and they're suffering a ninja shortage despite the fact they're offering that much money to be a ninja.
But haven't you got to start from a really young age, I
don't know.
Super young age.
I don't know. All I know is they're suffering a ninja shortage.
That's better than my fact. Should we end the show now? Can't do it.
Well, now let's just quit our craft, go to Japan and become a ninja. £85,000 a year. I don't mind if I do.
Right. Come on then, Hexy, hit me up. That's mental.
Obviously, everyone knows. Wait, I'll start it differently, sorry. My Did Yee Kna fact for the day. Obviously, everyone knows dolphins, one of the most intelligent mammals going. But they can also sleep with one eye open.
I did know that. They have to, because they'll drown otherwise.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, the mammals.
Yeah.
The mammals.
Yeah.
They've got to sleep with one eye open, sleep half their brain at a time, because obviously if they sink, they'll drown, because they've got to breathe. They've got to breathe air.
Right, that's interesting. That's a strange one.
Yeah, and
that is very strange.
As if by coincidence, mine's actually a sea life thing as well. Octopus, or octopi, as you could probably say. Did you know that each tentacle has that many neurons and sensors on it that they each technically are a brain in their own right? Literally, each tentacle has a mind of its own.
Oh my god.
That's mental.
It's kind of crazy.
And you're just sat there just talking away, and your arms are just like doing your bit stuff and just working completely independently of you. Like,
I wonder if that's why that happens. Yeah, I wonder if that's why they're...
I've seen a lot of people do that in Warzone. It's called aim button.
But I think the fact of the day, I think Ben definitely wins fact of the day.
Yeah, 100%.
Today, like I can't argue with that. I've got nothing. I can't even say, oh, I think it might be this, it might be that. Like, there's a shortage of ninjas, and that's freaking awesome.
Nah, bloody brilliant, isn't it? Shortage of ninjas in the world.
You can see all our inner childs just like, ooh, ninjas.
I think everyone just like lit up there, didn't they? It's like, ooh, ninjas.
Yeah, literally.
That's brilliant. That is actually brilliant. But yeah, Ben, thanks for being on the show. Would you come back again, or have you thought, oh, nah, I didn't like these two, like a bit Raj these two, like, but
I really enjoyed it. It's been a pleasure.
He's my 3D.
Yeah.
The up and coming Anton deck.
Yeah, we'll come on. But like I mentioned, Ben's stuff for Facebook is in the description below. Go check him out. Got some really cool stuff going on down there as well. But like, obviously an amazing musician, and obviously I'll put a link down for the tribute band that he's in as well. Get that around if you're into that particular thing, because they literally tour around the country. It's incredible. But no, like, it's been amazing having you on, Ben. Thanks for being our very first guest.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Lad. Thank you very much.
Of course, not a problem. And of course, thank you to Hexy as well. Been a bit of a difficult week for him regarding certain things going on at the minute. Busy life, as you can imagine, but means a lot that we dragged him out of bed at 7:30 in the morning to film this.
On his only day off.
On his only day off.
This has definitely been good for us. It's always good to kind of... What people don't realise is even if you do kind of get like 10 minutes, I know like not going out and seeing your friends is kind of like safety and stuff.
But a lot of it's isolation as well, though, isn't it? Like, that's kind of how a lot of it is.
And a lot of people will be feeling isolated, but even if you can start reaching out to your friends through online services, just
and
reach out to them.
To anyone in the comment section as well, like, comment away, talk, and we do reply to it. Both me and Alan. I'm sure Ben will have his eyes on it as well. If you've got any questions that you want to ask about the music industry, the media industry, professional gaming, ask them. If there's anything, if you just want someone to talk to, if you're feeling a bit isolated yourself, just comment away. Like, that's what this whole project's about. Conversation. So kind of like get yourselves on with it. But no.
Or play. I play with randoms.
All time. But no. But yeah, guys, thank you very much for watching till the end. So I've been your host, Shadows Rain, Hoff. We've had Hexy, and we've had the magnificent Ben Dryden, aka Sandbag. But until then, guys, that's who we are. You've been awesome, and we'll see yous in the next one. Peace.